Peace and blessings. It is Carly Stevens Jr., aka Rakim Sekou. Appreciate you all being here. I want to talk about some of the signs that we might see of men who are angry at their fathers. So we talked about men angry at their mothers and what that looks like. So what is the question in terms of, the fathers when the father, is overbearing or is absent? What does that look like, and how do men respond to that as they get older and as they're in adulthood? When the father is overbearing, the man will tend to respond in a few ways. One, he might shrink into submissiveness and femininity, right? Because basically what happened is the father used a lot of force and didn't give, the child, the boy, room to kind of grow into his own masculinity. So basically he ended up suppressing his masculinity, suppressing his ability to really utilize force in his life, to be more aggressive and, to be more initiatory and those types of things. So he really shrinks into himself. And so even as he gets older and as he grows and develops into an adult, he never really is able to get into that. So he stays kind of, in a place where he's not able to get into his full masculinity. And he might be feminine. It doesn't mean he's necessarily gay or that kind of thing, but it means he's going to stay kind of more in his feminine energy and maybe stay more in his submissiveness. Another sign, if the father is overbearing, the boy might grow up into an adult male who tends to be adversarial with other men. So doesn't really get along with other men, can't really form brotherhood, doesn't have a liking for men. This is a big problem that a lot of men face, is they don't really have a liking for men. So they can't really be true friends. They can't really trust men. They can't form really solid bonds. They can't have really deep conversations. They can't have solid communication with other men. And so this is an example where, because the father was overbearing and very forceful, the child grows up, the boy grows up in such a way where now he doesn't trust men. So he's thinking that most men are going to be, adversaries in some kind of way. So that lack of trust is prevalent in his adult life. And it can also manifest as, once the boy grows up to be an adult male, could manifest as him being angry at women. And the reason why, let's say the father's really overbearing inside the family and, maybe excessive discipline and, using a lot of force and that kind of thing. What a lot of boys end up doing is they blame their mothers for not protecting them. And so, again, if these things aren't discussed with the child as he's growing up, then, the boy grows up into an adult male who kind of blames women for the way that men are treated inside relationships, inside a family, or boys are treated inside relationships, inside of families. And so in this case, he has this anger towards women because he felt his mother didn't protect him from his father. Because as a young boy, you look to your parents to kind of protect you from each of the other parents. So when the father's being overbearing, you want the mother to step in and kind of protect you. When the mother might be overbearing or having you do too much, you want the father to step in and, really protect you and help her understand, boys will be boys or whatever it is. And so when that doesn't happen, you do develop an anger or resentment towards, the mother, okay? So what about when the father is absent, whether he's physically or emotionally absent? How does that actually affect, how he grows into adulthood and how he functions in relationships and those types of things? The first thing that you'll see is if the father was physically absent, or if he was emotionally absent, meaning he was physically there but not really in touch, with the child and not really interacting and kind of not available from an emotional standpoint, you might see, that boy grow up into an adult male who's seeking male approval. And he can do that in a number of different ways. One might be through extreme submissiveness. So, he's looking to attract males to him by being submissive, and also through being feminine. So what he's actually doing is he's trying to draw in that masculine energy that he never had for most of his life. And so we see that submissiveness, we see that feminine energy kind of come through him as a way to draw that masculine to him so he could actually have the experience he never had as a young boy, which is to enjoy the, presence and the attention of that masculine figure in his life. So you might see that happen again. Doesn't mean he's necessarily, choosing to be gay or that kind of thing. It just means that he's inside of his submissiveness and inside of his femininity. He's also probably going to be the type of man who is going to end up seeking feminine approval. Okay? So, he's looking to be chose by women, right? Because, he's looking, these men are looking for a signal or a sign that even though their father wasn't physically present or wasn't emotionally present, that they've actually grown up into being, a solid man, in their full manhood, that they are actually masculine. And one of the ways that some of these men do that is through looking for the approval of women. And one of the main ways that men are looking for this approval is through, being chosen in relationships, being chosen for sex and that type of thing. That's why you see like a lot of men get really angry when a woman doesn't choose them, right? Because there's a subconscious thing happening where they're looking for that woman to actually substantiate and acknowledge who he is as a man, acknowledge that he's actually, fully in his manhood, acknowledge that he's fully in his masculinity, okay? And so when she doesn't choose him, he gets angry because it's really the anger he had from childhood because he didn't get certain attention, certain presence from his father, right? This is an endless search, so, until you actually get these issues kind of worked out, where you actually work through some of your childhood issues and childhood trauma, like this search never ends. So you'll see men, going from woman to woman to woman, looking for this acknowledgement, right? Never really having a sense of satisfaction and, confidence in who they are as men, but still seeking that approval. There's also going to be a chance or high probability that this particular, man ends up being the nice guy, right? And when I say nice guy, it means he's not going to be seeking conflict. So he's going to live a life that basically is non-conflictual. He's not trying to push anybody away because he's seeking the approval of either the masculine or the feminine. So what he does is he tries to be extremely nice. He tries to be the person who does all these things, who brings gifts and does favors and pays for stuff and all that because he's seeking the approval of the feminine. Again, he's looking for that approval because, he needs a sign that he's actually grown up to be a solid man, that he's actually grown up to be inside his full masculinity. So that's where you see some of the nice guy stuff come in. It's not just from this particular scenario where the father was absent, physically or emotionally, but this is one of the scenarios where you'll see men kind of go into their nice guy thing. When the father's present physically and emotionally, what happens is, as a man, you do learn to engage in conflict. You learn not to fear getting into conflict. You learn to, be risk adverse. You learn to have, confidence in yourself. You learn to not let people kind of, abuse you in a way, because they're giving you, a certain level of attention or whatever it might be. So, the nice guy thing with men where you see them not be in conflict, that's often from the result of the absent father. Now, it doesn't mean that these men are not, violent in some kind of way or won't be violent or won't stab you in the back, because they do have this built-up anger, this built-up resentment. You see what I'm saying? So even if, you do respond to them, even if a woman does choose them, there's still a high probability they're going to do something that, betrays that trust or betrays the choice of that woman. So these men are still, very dangerous. They'll still do things to stab people in the back or, to rub folks the wrong way. But the face they put on initially is going to be that of the nice guy. Okay, so there's a few things, that might resonate in terms of, why, men who are angry at their fathers function in a certain way. If you got any questions, feel free to leave below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Talk to you later, tomorrow. Peace.